Welcome to the first episode of Lachlan Does Footy video. Today we're going to be talking about the ladder predictions, who's going to have a breakout year, who's going to have a bad year for teams, and who's going to make the grand final. We'll do breakout players from each club and predicting the player awards, with like the Brownlow, Coleman, the Rising Star, and predicting the results for the opening round and top 3 fantasy players from each round. We're going to be covering the ladder prediction now. In 18th place, I got the West Coast Eagles. I reckon it's not going to be a good year for West Coast. I can't see Harley Reid wanting to stay there in long term. In 17th place, we got Essendon. And the Bombers didn't look good in the practice game against St Kilda. After the way they played, it's going to be a long year ahead for the Bombers. In 16th place, we got Geelong. Well, signs have come to show their dynasty is about to be coming to an end. They've been very good since 2007, and I reckon with the ageing list and there is a few young players left, a few young players trying to prove themselves at the Cats. I've got a feeling they're going to be in for a rebuild very soon, and plus they've got a few injuries to deal with. 15th, we got North Melbourne. I can see the Kangaroos rise up the ladder this year because, given they look good in the practice game against Collingwood, they got young players coming through the team like Harry Sheasel, George Wardlaw, Nick Lachie, who led their goal kicking with 71 goals last season. I've got a feeling he could be in for an 80-plus goal season. And also those young draftees like Zane Dersmer and Colby McCurcher, they are looking pretty good. 14th, we got Hawthorn, although they will have a rise up the ladder, but they still got a few injuries. I don't think they're ready to make out of the bottom 6 yet. 13th, we got Richmond. They've lost Dimmer Hardwick, but they also got a new coach in Adam Uze. They'll rebuild a bit, just similar to Geelong, but they won't finish as bad as Geelong. 12th, I got the Gold Coast Suns, although the Suns are starting to look good under Dimmer Hardwick, but they're not ready to make finals yet. They should be able to make it in a few seasons. In 11th, we got the Western Bulldogs, although I can't see the Bulldogs making the 8 yet, but I'm pretty excited about how Riley Sanders will play for the Bulldogs. He could be the replacement for Bailey Smith. 10th, we got the Sydney Swans. Although the Swans are usually high up the ladder, but they got injuries that could hold them back. And they've just lost money from the forward line. But the forward line's going to have to create their own. And plus as well, they've got another forward in Sam Reid who's pretty close to retirement. In 9th, we got Melbourne. Melbourne, they've had a lot of problems in 2020 heading into the new season. They've lost Angus Brayshaw to retirement. Clayton Oliver has gone through some personal issues. In 8th, we got Port Adelaide. The thing I'll be excited about Port Adelaide this year is see how Connor Rosie will go as captain. And they've just picked up 2 ruckmen in the trade period. But at the moment, they looked good in the practice game against Adelaide, but they drew. 7th, we got Fremantle. The thing did have the Dockers high last year, but they missed the finals completely. I reckon this year should be a bounce back year for Freo. 6th, we got GWS. The Giants, they were expected to finish lower last year, but they made the prelim final. And they looked very good in the practice game, beating the likes of Sydney and the Gold Coast Suns. Expect to see the Giants do very good in 2024. 5th, we got the Adelaide Crows. They looked good in the practice game against Port Adelaide. The thing I'm pretty excited about the Crows was their play development and how they could be able to bounce back from nearly making the finals. Now we round up the top 4. 4th, we got St Kilda. The thing that's excited about the Saints this season was how Liam Henry looked pretty good as a Saint. I reckon I could see them doing really good, similar to how they played in 2009. 3rd, we got Carlton. Although the Blues have had some problems in the practice games against Melbourne and Geelong, but they should be able to coexist well in the regular season. Harry Mackay and Charlie Curnow should be able to coexist up forward. Second, we got the Brisbane Lions. Well, this is basically the last chance for them to compete for a premiership. If they don't win it this year, well, there's going to be some problems at Brisbane. There might be some key players leaving, like Lachie Neal. He stated if Brisbane don't win a flag by 2024, he's looking to go back to Fremantle. Top of the table, we got Collingwood. They've upgraded their team after they just won the flag. They've got rid of Jack Ginnivan to Hawthorn, and they just replaced him with Fremantle's small forward Lachie Schultz. And there's nothing much to say about Collingwood. We're got now on to another topic, which is breakout year, bad year, and grand final prediction. The team I reckon is going to have a very bad year will be Geelong. They're just about at the end of their dynasty era. They've been in the dynasty era since 2007. Safe to say, I reckon they're going to need a few draft picks to rebuild. Breakout year, I reckon it'll be St Kilda. The Saints, they're looking primed to make the top 4 this year. I've got a feeling they'll make their first preliminary final since 2010, when they beat the Western Bulldogs in the preliminary final. My grand final prediction, I reckon it'll be Collingwood and Brisbane. But in this last grand final, Collingwood won it by 4 points. This year's grand final, I've got Brisbane winning by 1 point. As Anthony Hudson said in the 2006 grand final, the sequel is better than the original! And there are my player award predictions for this year. For the Rising Star top 3, and number 3, I got Nick Watson from Hawthorn. Number 2, I'm going with Caleb Windsor from Melbourne. I reckon my Rising Star winner, I'm going with Colby McKercher from North Melbourne. It'll be 2 years in a row for North. The reason why I'd left Harley Reid out of the Rising Star conversation is, because seeing Harley Reid doesn't look very happy at West Coast. I've got a feeling, I reckon, for a couple of games, he'd probably get dropped to the waffle. And he'll request a trade at the end of the season. It's like a Jason Horne-Francis situation out there. Now for the Coleman top 3 prediction. Number 3 in the Coleman medal, I've actually got Tom Lynch. He's back from injury, should be back from injury by then. I reckon he'll kick 62 goals. At second place, I've got Charlie Curnow from Carlton. I've got him kicking 77 goals. At number 1, I've got Nick Lachie. And the total amount of goals I'm picking, it's a bit of a long shot, really. I'm going with 105. Someone's due to kick 100 goals. Now we're going to be predicting the top 3 for the Brownlow. Number 3, I'm going with Luke Davies-Uniacke. I reckon he'll poll 28 votes as he leads North Melbourne up the ladder. Second in the Brownlow, I'm going with Christian Petrarca. He's due to finish top 3. I've got him on 29 votes. I reckon winning the Brownlow I'm going with is Nick Dacos. 32 votes, and that's obvious. Now we are talking about breakout players from each club. Breakout player this year for Adelaide, I reckon it'll be Riley Philthorpe. He looked very good in the practice game against Port Adelaide. I reckon he'll, now with an increased roll up forward, I reckon he'll play about 20 odd games, but could kick about close to 50 goals. Brisbane, my breakout player I'm going with is Kai Lohmann. Kai Lohmann looked pretty good in the reserves in the last few years, but I reckon it should be time for his chance to shine finally in the Brisbane forward line. Carlton, my breakout player for them I'm going with is Brody Kemp. He looked pretty good in the finals last year, but I reckon surely it's time for him to finally have a 20 odd game season, as Carlton have been crying for another key defender since Liam Jones left the club. My breakout player this year for Collingwood I'm going with is Finlay Macrae. He was a first round pick in 2020. He played about 12 games in his career so far. There's a midfield spot vacant for him now that Taylor Adams is gone. Essendon, I'm going with Zach Reid. He's played just 3 games so far for the club in 3 years. I reckon this year, I think he's got a chance to break out for Essendon. Another few contenders, I got a Nick Cox, Ben Hobbs, and Elijah Sartaz. Fremantle, my breakout player I'm going with is Matthew Johnson. He's built like a midfielder. He could also play up forward. For Geelong, my breakout player I'm going with is Tanner Broad. Now that Cam Guthrie's out injured, I reckon there's a midfield spot vacant for Tanner Broad this year. Gold Coast, my breakout player for them I'm going with is Mac Andrew. 5th pick in the 2021 draft. He should slot well down back in Damien Hardwick's side. GWS, my breakout player for them is Aaron Cadman. He's due for a good year this year. He's played 12 games in his first year and just kicked 6 goals up forward. But this year, I reckon he'll play more games and should kick more goals. My breakout player for Hawthorn I'm going with is Jack Ginnivan. He played a fair bit of footy at Collingwood for a few seasons. He's due for another good year at a new club in Hawthorn. My other contenders for breakout player there are Cam McKenzie and Massimo D'Ambrosio, her half back. Melbourne, my breakout player for them would be Jack Billings. Although he's getting closer to 30, but he's played over 100 games for the Saints. He's looking like a machine this year at Melbourne. We've got a North Melbourne, my breakout player I'm going with is Will Phillips. He's due for a breakout year. He was a top 5 pick 4 years ago. A breakout player this year for Port Adelaide I'm going with is Lachie Jones. He played a few seasons in the top level, but he lost his place in the back line for a bit last year. I reckon this year he'll take his game to another level. Richmond, my breakout player I'm going with them is Josh Gebkus. Although he missed his entire second year with a knee injury, surely I reckon he could get back to his 2022 best and actually get to another level. He was a key player in their last finals appearance for the Tigers. St Kilda, my breakout player I'm going with is Liam Henry. Although he spent 4 years in the top level at Fremantle, I reckon he'll take his game to another level since he moved to St Kilda. My breakout player this year for Sydney I'm going with is James Jordan. Although they need another midfielder to replace Josh Kennedy, who had retired in 2022. I reckon James Jordan looked class in the practice games. He played 3 seasons 5 years at Melbourne, including a premiership. At West Coast, my breakout player I'm going with him is Elijah Hewitt. He looked pretty good in his first year, but I reckon I can't see him taking his game to another level this year. There's not much to say about West Coast. Western Bulldogs, my breakout player I'm going with is Sam Darcy. He was the 2nd pick in the 2021 draft. He's had a bit of time to develop. I reckon 2024 he'll take his game to another level. Now we are predicting the opening round. First game we go to Sydney versus Melbourne. I got Melbourne by 6 points. My top 3 scorers for that game will be Errol Gordon from Sydney, James Jordan from Sydney. He will have a point to prove against his old club. And for Melbourne, I got Christian Petrarca. Friday night at the Gabba, I got Brisbane by 24 points. Best players for AFL Fantasy, Brisbane, I'm going with Lachie Neale and Hugh McCluggage. For Carlton, I'm going with Sam Walsh. Now we're up to Gold Coast versus Richmond. I got the Suns getting the job done by 12 points. My top 3 scorers for the Gold Coast, I'm going with AFL Fantasy. Gold Coast, my top scorers are Matt Rowell and Noah Anderson. Richmond, I'm going with Dustin Martin. Now I'm up for GWS versus Collingwood. I got the same margin as the prelim, but except it's GWS by a point now. But best players, GWS, I'm going with Finn Callahan and Tom Green. Collingwood, I'm going with Nick Dacos. That is the first episode of Lachie Does Footy, and we'll wrap up the episode. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week for episode 2.